Hi guys, today we will start with class 10th history chapter 2 nationalism in India. So the first subpart, the First World War, Khilafat and non-cooperation. In the years after 1919, we see the national movement spreading to new areas, incorporating new social groups and developing new modes of struggle. How do we understand these developments? What implications did they have? First, we'll study about the effects of First World War on Indian economy. First of all, the war created a new economic and political situation. The First World War was between 1914 to 1918. Year should be learnt. Now, the effects of World War I on Indian economy. It led to a huge increase in defense expenditure, which was financed by war loans and increasing taxes. Custom duties were raised and income tax was introduced because the our India was not actually participating in it, was not directly participating in the First World War, but was indirectly participating through the Britain. Okay. Through the war years, the prices increased, doubling between 1913 and 1918, leading to extreme hardships for the common people. How can the common people pay such a high amount of taxes, such a high amount of revenue? Villages were called upon to supply soldiers, and forced recruitment in rural areas caused widespread anger. Now, the Britain was fighting the First World War, so he wanted soldiers to fight. His soldiers were not enough in numbers, so he took the soldiers of our country and sent them to fight. Then in 1918 to 1919 and 1920 to 1921, crops failed in many parts of India, resulting in acute shortages of food. This was accompanied by an influenza epidemic. Overall, according to the census of 1921, 12 to 13 million people perished as a result of famines and epidemic. भुखमरी हो गई थी पूरे देश में. That their hardships would end after the war was over, but that did not happen. At this stage, a new leader appeared and suggested a new mode of struggle. Who is this new leader? Mahatma Gandhi. The idea of Satyagraha. Mahatma Gandhi returned in January 1915. As you know, he had come from South Africa where he had successfully fought the racist regime with a noble method of mass agitation which he called Satyagraha. So, what is Satyagraha? Satyagraha means a noble method of mass agitation, a peaceful method of agitation, a peaceful method of protest. The idea of Satyagraha emphasized the power of the truth and the need to search for truth. It suggested that if the cause was true, if the struggle was against injustice, then physical force was not necessary to fight the oppressor. Without seeking vengeance or being aggressive, a satyagrahi could win the battle through non-violence. This could be done by appealing to the conscience of the oppressor, the inner self of the oppressor. People, including the oppressor, had to be persuaded to see the truth instead of being forced to accept truth through the use of violence. By this struggle, truth was bound to ultimately triumph. Mahatma Gandhi believed that this dharma of non-violence could unite all Indians. So what basically is satyagraha is that satyagraha means noble method, peaceful method of mass agitation, protest. Mahatma Gandhi believes satyagraha is better than violence. Violence, Mahatma Gandhi always said non-violence. Mahatma Gandhi always promoted non-violence. He said that people should not be asked to accept truth. They should be persuaded to see the truth. Okay. After arriving in India, Mahatma Gandhi successfully organized satyagraha movements in various places. In three places he organized satyagraha movements. First, in 1917 he traveled to Champaran in Bihar, inspired the peasants to struggle against the oppressive plantation systems. Then in 1917 he organized a satyagraha to support the peasants of Kher district of Gujarat affected by the crop failure and plague epidemic. The peasants of Kher could not pay the revenue and were demanding that revenue collection be relaxed. In 1918, Mahatma Gandhi went to Ahmedabad to organize a satyagraha movement amongst the cotton mill workers. These are the three places where Mahatma Gandhi organized satyagraha movements, successfully organized satyagraha movements. Now, what was Rowlatt Act? You all must be familiar of the Rowlatt Act. And you have studied this in class 8th also, the Rowlatt Act of 1919. We'll study in deep in this paragraph. Emboldened with his success, Gandhiji in 1919 decided to launch a nationwide satyagraha against the proposed Rowlatt Act. This act had been hurriedly passed through the Imperial Legislative Council despite the united opposition of the Indian members. Many group of Indian members opposed this act, but the Legislative Council hurriedly passed it because the government was of Britain. Was the superior power in our country. It gave the government enormous power to repress political activities and allowed detention of political prisoners without trial for 2 years. Mahatma Gandhi wanted non-violent civil disobedience against unjust laws, which would start with a hartal on 6th April. Mahatma Gandhi was against violence. He said non-violence should take place, and we should be throwing British out of our country with non-violence only. So he started with a hartal on 6th April. Hartal is not a violence; it is like protesting. Rallies were organized in various cities, workers went on strike in railway workshops, and shops closed down. Alarmed by the popular upsurge and scared that lines of communication such as railways and telegraph would be disrupted, the British administration decided to clamp down on nationalists. Local leaders were picked up from Amritsar and Mahatma Gandhi was barred from entering Delhi. Mahatma Gandhi was denied to enter Delhi. On 10th April, the police in Amritsar fired upon a peaceful procession, provoking widespread attacks on banks, post office, and railway stations. Now, what happened? Mahatma Gandhi was barred from entering Delhi, and on 10th of April, the police in Amritsar fired upon a peaceful group of people, provoking widespread attacks on banks, post office, railway stations. All these were attacked. Martial law was imposed and General Dyer took the command. There at Amritsar, martial law was imposed and General Dyer took the command. He was the leader. Now what happened? On 13th April, 3 days after, the infamous Jallianwala Bagh incident took place. We all are familiar with Jallianwala Bagh incident where the walls are holed. In Jallianwala Bagh, the walls have holes in it. On that, a large crowd gathered in the enclosed ground of Jallianwala Bagh. Some came to protest against the government's new repressive measures, others had come to attend the annual Baisakhi fair. So, what happened that it was a Baisakhi day. On 13th April, it was Baisakhi, and many people came on that Jallianwala Bagh. It is a very beautiful Bagh. Many people came, some to protest against the government's new repressive measure or martial law, and others had come to attend annual Baisakhi fairs. Others didn't know about the martial law which was imposed, so they had come only to attend the annual Baisakhi fair. Being from outside the city, many villagers were unaware of the martial law that had been imposed. I said. Dyer entered the area, he blocked the exit points and opened fire on the crowds, killing hundreds. His object, as he declared later, was to produce a moral effect to create in the minds of satyagrahis a feeling of terror and awe. Now what happened that many villagers were outside from the city and they were not aware of the martial law that was imposed by the General Dyer. So Dyer entered the area, he blocked the exit points and opened fire on the crowds, killing hundreds. His object, as he declared later, was to produce a moral effect. Said that he declared later that he fired because he wanted to produce a moral effect. So cheap this sound. To create in the mind of satyagrahis a feeling of terror and awe. He did so because he wanted to create in the minds of Indians, in the minds of satyagrahis, a feeling of terror. As news of Jallianwala Bagh spread, crowds took to the streets in many North Indian towns. There were strikes, clashes with the police, and attacks on government buildings. Now, what happened when this news spread from one place to another, from the city to countryside? Many people went on strike, clashes, police attacks on the government buildings. They reacted very strangely to this. They were very shocked. They reacted very aggressively. The government responded with brutal repression, seeking to humiliate and terrorize people. Satyagrahis were forced to rub their noses on the ground, crawl on the streets, and salute to all the sahibs. It happened that government didn't show any sympathy to them, that they have done something very wrong. That first of all they had done something very wrong, and now they are also attacking. Now they also responded, the people who went on strike, clashes, who showed their anger with brutal repression, seeking to humiliate and terrorize people. They want to humiliate the Indians and terrorize them not to take this step, not to protest against the Britishers. And satyagrahis were forced to rub their noses on the ground, crawl on the streets like dogs, and salute to all the sahibs. People were flogged, and villages around Gujranwala in Punjab, now in Pakistan, after the separation, were bombed. What happened that they were, this is a picture, General Dyer's crawling orders administered by British soldiers. Now the General Dyer is, this is an Indian, this is the Indian satyagrahi. He is forcing an Indian, he's enforcing a satyagrahi to crawl on the streets, and he bombed the area of villages around Gujranwala in Punjab. Seeing violence spread, Mahatma Gandhi called off the movement. Now he was starting satyagraha movement, but after he had saw all this violation, all destruction, all violence, all aggression, he decided to call off the movement. He decided to get down the movement, close the movement.